So, good evening, viewers. Welcome to the channel again. I think today has been quite probably not a very good day for reform, as maybe you might have seen on the news and other channels. The police have basically confirmed that they're dropping the investigation into the false allegations and that basically that Rupert Lowe made threats to Zia Yousef, the chairman of Reform, which I think everybody knew it was ridiculous anyway. Why they did it is just unbelievable to me, because I don't think Zia Yousef seems a bad guy. Talks really well. I think he's an asset to the party, really. It's really disappointing that they've got this trouble, this feud going on in the background, and it sort of got me thinking. I was looking at it from an alternative angle, which I'd like to go into, if you'll indulge me on that. I'd like to go into it a little bit, just after we've sort of had a look at the statement from Rupert Lowe about the decision that's been made today. Obviously, that's not going to be the end of it because of what's happened. I mean, basically, they could have, the things that they accused him of. He could have gone to prison for what they accused him of. And he's 67 years old, and then to go on top of that and accuse him of dementia is just pretty disgraceful, really. I don't know why they did that. I know Nigel Farage has sort of distanced himself from it, hasn't he? A little bit, distanced himself from the whole sorry tale. I mean, but he hasn't really helped himself. He's come out with some quite derogatory statements towards Rupert Lowe. But the whole taking this thing to the police was just a ridiculous move. So close to the election day as well. I mean, it could have really scuppered the whole thing, which does make you wonder whether, which is what I'm going to get into, whether there's anything going on in the background, really, because of this emerging party and the people that in the deep state that don't want reform to be anywhere near number 10, or Nigel Farage for that matter. Let's have a look at the statement and see what Rupert says. Just try I don't know if you can see it actually, but I will read it out. He's basically said this was not normal political infighting, was a sinister attempt to weaponise the criminal justice system against me, putting not just my political future but my liberty at risk. All because I dared raise constructive criticism of Nigel Farage, stood firm on deporting illegal migrants, and pushed for reform to be run democratically, not as a vehicle to stroke one man's ego. How did reform respond? With a brutal smear campaign for the sin of asking legitimate questions about the party's direction, policies and leadership. I was vilified and targeted. I'm ashamed to have shared a parliamentary platform with them, ashamed to have trusted them, ashamed to have called them my friends. Farage is no leader, he is a coward and a viper. I feel deeply embarrassed that I have ever thought he was the man to lead. Quite strong words. Very strong words, actually. In my view, that the police process was weaponised to silence a party colleague who raised reasonable concerns. If Farage were ever to control the vast power of British state, I believe he would not hesitate to do to his adversaries what they have tried to do to me, with real power. I fear he would wield that immense responsibility to crush dissent, as he has done time and again over the years. I mean, there is evidence of that, that's true. Smearing my innocent staff in a pathetic attempt to attack me was disgusting, alongside briefings to journalists from senior reform figures suggesting I had dementia, the lowest, vilest tactics I have seen in my 67 years. They are not fit to lead, they are not fit to be MPs. Please listen when I say this. For the good of our country, Nigel Farage must never be Prime Minister. Well, I don't. As much as I don't agree with what's been done, I just don't agree that. I just don't agree with that, and that's what I'm going to get into after we finish this reading this. To the millions of decent reform supporters, you must do what you believe is right. I personally could not remain in an organisation led by such a man. They do not deserve your support, your time, your energy, your money, or your vote. I don't agree with that either. I urge you to do what you think is right when the time soon comes. We will work together to advance a political movement that is credible, professional, decent, democratic and honest. There will be very soon an alternative to the rotten leadership of reform. And to those of you who have supported me during this incredible difficult period, thank you. I have been touched by your messages of kindness. Without your support and without my social media platforms, I would have been buried by the smears. I truly mean it. Thank you. You'll be hearing a lot more from me very soon, Rupert. So just moving on from that statement and looking at what's gone on and looking at the drama that's gone on with reform. I mean, you have to say that although this kicked off before the election, it didn't really affect the election that much. He still did amazingly well, or reform did amazingly well. And you have to remember that the Twitter sphere or X it's a tiny microcosm of the country. A lot of people aren't on here. They're not part of the online right. And moaning all the time about every little thing that goes on, every little nuance within the Reform Party. They're just not. All they see is an alternative to the two-party system that's the uniparty system, which everybody wants rid of now. I mean, everybody's so depressed about what's going on with Labour at the moment. Even left-wing people are, even Labour voters, socialists are all very unhappy about what Starmer is doing. It's not, what he's doing is it's not very left-wing, really. The Tories are absolutely useless, a totally rudderless ship. They're just going to take years to get back to where they need to be. They've been destroyed by the way that the Tory Central Office has selected candidates, meaning that they've not selected actual Tories. They've just selected more, Tory wets, liberals really, in the Conservative Party, Social Democrats. And so it's not really a Conservative Party anyway. Reform really is what the Conservative Party used to be years ago. They've had to start a new party to create an actual proper Conservative Party. But my worry is, and this is the problem, and I'm thinking about it further down the line, this is going to derail reform in some way, some meaning, some way. I think further down, closer to the business end of when the elections start to take place. There's obviously the Welsh election next year, and there's more elections in England and around the UK next year, and the ones that got cancelled. I've just got a funny feeling that this has been some sort of government deep state stitch up from the beginning. They absolutely do not want reform in power in this country, stopping everything that's happening. The net zero, climate craziness, all the changes that are going on in around each city, all the C40 initiatives, the way that they're changing they're doing all the low traffic neighbourhoods and things like that. That they've brought in, changing all the road systems of the cities, trying to basically stop cars from going to cities. They've become councils and have been basically told to get rid of the car. They are the enemy of the car, and all that's been going on for a while. And I guess Reform are coming in. They've got 10 councils. They're going to probably try and scupper that in the councils that they've got control of. But the civil service, they don't want that. And the civil service are running this country. No parties are running this country. The civil service needs absolutely getting rid of completely and starting again. Because we won't get real change until that happens. But it just makes you wonder, where did Rupert Lowe come from? I know he was in the European Parliament, but where did he actually come from? And is all this trouble contrived? It just makes you wonder so much, because he was a Tory, was Rupert Lowe. And the things that he's been allowed to say in the last few months on Facebook and Twitter, if other people have said the things that he said, talking about remigration and deportations, and I'm not casting an opinion either way, but the things he has said have been very, very strong, extremely strong. And I just think that anybody else saying that would have had visits from the police with the current climate that we're in. And there would certainly been stern words being said by the police, and he would have been warned, and yet he hasn't been. And that really, I feel really suspicious about that. Now, there is the other side of it, that Nigel has marched us up to the top of the hill numerous times before, and just when it's about to go really well, and that he's going to actually get some real power, he, for some reason, just totally destroys it all, self-destructs, and that's the other worry. Is Rupert genuine? Is Nigel genuine? Now, we've known Farage for a long time, but is Farage just somebody who is there to make us all feel a bit better, that things might come round and things might improve in the future, but they never really do? And he just keeps us thinking that there's jam tomorrow, while the other two parties destroy this country. It might seem far-fetched, but every time we look at Brexit, we should be really, benefiting from Brexit. Now, we should be Singapore on the Thames. We should have low taxes here. We should be trying to basically attract businesses from around the world with whatever corporation tax we want to charge. Doing our own thing. But no, we've not been allowed to do that. And we should, we've not been allowed to diverge from the EU, even though we've actually left the EU. Now, a lot of people don't want us to diverge from the EU that are in power, but that was the whole point of Brexit. For Brexit to work, we had to do everything and do our own thing. And certainly corporation tax would have been a massive thing. When you see what it did for Ireland, and how it attracted a lot of the big tech companies, it would have been amazing for us to do that, but they almost went the other direction. So it just makes you wonder whether Nigel is genuine or not, or is he? I know a lot of people don't like using the conspiratorial word. Is he, controlled opposition? But the thing that what Rupert's done, or is it, there's three players in this. There's Zia. Has Zia all of a sudden appeared? And has he been placed in there to have this ridiculous argument with Rupert, to cause such a rift internally, and then to fragment the party so that Rupert goes off, Ben Habib goes off, they start a new party, and then that party's not going to do anything. There's no time for a new party now to do anything, but what it will do is potentially splinter, because it looks like they'll be allowed to say anything they want to attract people, and there's obviously a certain amount of people will listen to them, and they'll be like the Pied Piper. They will pull a lot of people away from reform, But there's no way that they're going to let any party that's got more extreme views than Reform, which are not extreme, but anybody that's right of Reform, they're never going to allow that to emerge as a proper party. Once Rupert gets organised, or Ben Habib gets organised, and do and say what they want to say, and have a party like that. I mean, it's almost like a British nationalist party. It's not. They're just not going to fly. Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing in Germany to the AfD right now. Look what they've done to Le Pen in France. The shadowy cabal that seems to be in charge of Europe just will not. Look at Romania. Look what they did to Romania. It just won't let something like that sort of party emerge in the UK. I just don't believe it will. So I don't understand what Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe think they're going to start. I mean, it's never going to be able to gain any traction. And certainly not in the timescale we've got. The amount of organisation that's now gone into Reform on the ground, and I know because I've seen it, is unbelievable. I mean, I've got 400 branches around the country now, and they're very, very organised. To do that from scratch, without any money, it would be almost impossible. And even if it did, all it could do would be do damage. So it's gonna stop. He's going to end up trying to stop Nigel Farage from being Prime Minister, because Farage is going to need all the votes he can get. And if Rupert and Ben attract, say 1 million people, that's going to be a big amount of people. And they could well do that. They could well do that in 4 years, saying what they're saying and being allowed to say what they say. I just think there's something very fishy between the three of them. What's going on here? A reconciliation would be the better way to go. If that could happen, that would be fantastic. But I can't see that happening. I think Rupert would probably happy to take over Reform, and Nigel stand down and Zia stand down if that could happen. But it's their party; they own it. Zia and Nigel, they own all the shares, so it's not been democratised in any way. So I don't see how that can happen, unless they really started hemorrhaging support and sort of the people managed to get rid of him. But I can't see that happening because Nigel is very, very popular, and Rupert really, nobody really knows who Rupert is compared to Nigel Farage. So it's an interesting thing, an interesting dynamic. I don't know which way it's going to go, but it's damaging, very damaging. It's almost like they're conspiring. Somebody in that group of three people is conspiring to stop Reform from taking power, and something there's something sinister going on there. Really, if Rupert really cared, he'd know that there's absolutely no way he can have or create a very radical party, very, very right-wing party, in terms of today's reference points, and be a potential Prime Minister in 2029. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And so I really don't know where this goes. Hopefully there can be some sort of reconciliation, and Nigel will see the warning signs, and maybe if he gets rid of Zia Yousef, which is a shame because I think he's a good speaker and I think he's good for the party. But if they attract some more big beasts from the Tory party, the ones that we want, the Jenricks, the Bravermans, people like that, then it might be okay if he goes, but anyway, we'll see. I just thought I wanted to just add some thoughts to what's been going on today, because it's been quite an interesting day. Don't want to go on too long, so leave it at that, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, what you people think, whether you agree with me or not. If you can leave your comments below, that'd be brilliant. I will look at every comment and answer it. Be great to hear from you. Please subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you.